Welcome back to Game 4 in this Best of 5 series. We are in the round of 8 and I've said that each and every match so far, so you should know that by now. The map is Metalopolis, my name is Crucius, and let's get on with this match. In the top corner we have OneHand spawning as our purple Zerg versus our blue Terran spawning in the center-ish position, Brockemon. Now, they are in adjacent bases again, so the Zerg is going to be doing that nifty Overlord trick where he does bring the Overlord in just outside of the view of the command center, but because Overlords do have a greater range than buildings, he is going to see that before the Terran is able to spot him. So the Zerg is going to have the positional advantage yet again. He is going to know where the Terran is before the Terran knows where he is. So again, we could probably see some early air, but again, because the walking distance isn't really all that long, we could also see a very aggressive ground push. So there is going to be quite a bit of dead time, as there always is in between each match. So I'll spend a bit of time talking about Game 3, so again, if you don't want spoilers, pause this video, go watch Game 3, but then again, if you're here without watching Game 3, you're doing it wrong. Just saying. In Game 3, we did see the Terran put on some quite aggressive early pressure that did put Zerg at an economic disadvantage from the very start. From that point on, the Terran did just pull ahead and use his advantage, made it even bigger, and basically overwhelmed the Zerg with his maxed out mech army at the very end. Now Zerg is going for a fast expand before spawning pool yet again, so far this match has been exactly the same as it was before, but then again, if you know a build works, stick with it. We do see Brockemon walling in with his standard 2 supply depot and barracks. The supply depot will come in a second. We do see 1 gas for the Terran, so probably not going to be going for any early air, as usually you need 2 Vespene geysers in order to go for early air. And at the moment we just see Brockemon getting his command center up. No, orbital command center up. Orbital command. Yeah, you can tell I don't play Terran. Anyway, we do see OneHand stealing one of Terran's gas. This is going to delay any early tech from the Terran. He is probably going to be cancelling this distractor just before it finishes, throwing up another one, trying to keep that drone alive as much as possible. Because the distractors only cost 25 minerals, you're not going to lose all that much by cancelling and rebuilding, since you only lose 25%. Now OneHand does get a spawning pull up. I think that was before his gas, so we're probably not going to see any early speedlings come out. His expansion does finish. Now this is the second extractor, but since there are 3 marines up, if OneHand does decide to rebuild, he is going to lose that drone pretty quickly, and that is going to get taken out any second. Just waiting for it, and gone. Now we do see a factory get thrown up for the Terran. We also see a second barracks, so we're probably going to be seeing some Hellion aggression yet again, but this time it's going to be complemented with a few more marines. Usually Brockemon chooses to go for, say, 1 factory, 1 barracks, and then throw on additional factories afterwards, but this time we do see it's 2 barracks and 1 factory. He is going to change with the reactor instead of a tech lab this time, so we're not going to be seeing any blue flames, we're just going to be seeing some standard Hellion aggression. He's going to be looking to do some economic damage. We do see 2 Zerglings poking around. They are going to see that factory at the front, and he is going to see that it does have an extractor, a reactor attached. So he doesn't really have to worry about blue flames, but he does have to worry about a large number of Hellions inside his base. He's throwing up a spine crawler just in case, since he knows that Brockemon does like to go for the early Hellion aggression. We do see a marine patrolling up and down this. He is spotting for any air aggression, as well as Overlord drops, but it is pretty early for air or Overlord drops, so he will be safe for quite a while, and obviously the Zerg isn't going for any early air pressure, so the Terran is going to be pretty safe at the moment. He does have Hellions on the field. They are going to be looking to do some aggression. He does manage to get behind the spine crawler and into the middle line. The Queen is the only thing that's actually there to defend. 1 drone does fall. He is getting up another spine crawler, so the Hellions are going to get pushed away pretty quickly. So with 2 Queens, 2 spine crawlers, and a handful of Zerglings, you're actually going to be able to defend Hellions off pretty easily. The Hellions are going to take a couple of hits from the spine crawlers and basically be forced to retreat back to their base. Now he does actually still have Hellions constantly being produced. He does have 2 barracks up, getting Marauders So he is expecting roaches out from the Zerg, but as you can see, OneHand is actually opting to go for Zergling speed rather than roaches. So the Marauders aren't really going to do all that much damage against the Zerglings. They are going to be able to take out the Spine Crawlers pretty quickly, but other than that, it's not really going to be able to do all that much. Now, we have seen Brockemon do this before, and if I am correct, things are going to get pretty exciting as well as pretty risky. Now the Marauders do run out. Zerg is just continuing to macro up, getting some more drones, and also getting a Baneling's Nest. And look what we have here. Brockemon is taking all his SCVs off the line, so this is basically going to be an all-in from the Terran. He is going to be using these SCVs to basically tank all the damage from either the Spine Crawlers, Roaches, Zerglings, and then he's going to run the Marauders and Hellions in behind them to do as much damage as he can. He does have an extra 2 Hellions reinforcing, and now this is basically going to be an really risky all-in from the Terran. The Hellions are actually in front, which the Terran doesn't want. He wants his SCVs in front, trying to tank as much damage as possible. Once Spinecrawler does fall, he is trying to go for the second. The Marauders actually attacking the hatchery instead of the Spinecrawler, so he is going to lose an extra couple units that he probably shouldn't have. He really needs to get these other units into the battle as well, because once all these units engage, Terran is going to be in a bit of trouble. He does manage to get the ACVs out just in time as the drones and Zerglings and Queens manage to get a surround on his units. So he is going to save most of these SCVs, so he isn't going to be at that much of an economic loss, but of course he is going to be at a slight economic loss since he did pull off many SCVs for a short period of time. So they are going to return to base to start mining, and Zerg is actually looking for a slight counterattack. Yes, he is. He's going to be pushing out with these Zerglings. He knows that the Terran doesn't really have much to commit to a defense. He did pull off most of his units, even pulling off SCVs to help complement that attack. He is getting a second command center up to try to catch up economically. He is also keeping up production of his Hellions. Zergling is trying to do some damage to the SCV land, not really doing all that much, getting picked off by the Hellions pretty quickly. We do see Zerglings actually managed to get inside Brockemon's base since supply depots were not raised up. Zerglings do manage to pick off a couple. Didn't manage to pick off that last Hellion, but he did manage to take out a couple of units, which is actually pretty good. That's just going to put Brockemon at an even more economic loss. If we take a look at the in-cover tab at the moment, Zerg is at around 1,200 minerals per minute, and the Terran is varying between 800 and 1,000. So we can assume he does have a couple of mills on the field, and he does have one. But once that mill expires, his income is going to drop pretty heavily at the moment. That is kind of the power of Terran. They can try to commit some SCVs to an attack, and even if that does fail, he is going to have the mills to back it up. Now that one Zergling actually did pay off for itself. It actually did see the all-in come in, so he was able to prepare appropriately for that. Now the creep tombs are going to be taken out by the Terran. That is just going to stop the Zerg's basically offensive capabilities a small bit. Now he is choosing to go for a third, knowing that the Terran is behind quite a bit, and armory is getting thrown up, so we could be seeing some Thors anytime soon, or just going for plain upgrades. Now the Zerg is getting yet another in-base hatchery. We did see him do this last game, but this time he's actually in a lot better position, so he can afford to do this. Actually going for a fourth, actually no, a second in-base hatchery. Kind of missed that. So he's actually feeling pretty confident and pretty secure. So he is throwing up 2 hatcheries. That is going to increase his production capabilities quite a bit. Now we do see Terran actually trying to expand. Zerglings are going to be blocking this, but they do move away just in time. One is going to spot the command center flying over, and he is probably just going to try to snipe that off as it tries to land. Now Brockemon isn't actually bringing any units out to defend the expansion if it does come out, but he does have a couple of Hellions that is going to drive away any Zerglings. So we do have a couple of Mutas out on the field, so OneHand does have a Spire up. He's going to be looking to be a bit aggressive. No Thors out on the field just yet. He did know that Brockemon did go for a Marauder heavy army, so you can probably assume that he doesn't have that many Marines to actually defend against this Muta harassment. Now OneHand playing it safe, placing up a couple Spine Crawlers around his base just to help fend off any aggression, since he does know that airdrops can be pretty effective, so he doesn't really want to be caught off guard. Now we do have one Thor coming out on the field, so if OneHand is going to be doing some Muta harassment, he really needs to do it now before those Thors come out and basically render those Mutas more or less useless. Now he does decide to move out with the Mutas. The Hellions are doing attack from the front, but the Zerglings probably are going to be able to clean that up pretty quickly. Now OneHand doesn't really want to reveal these mutas to the Hellions, but if we look at... But never mind, we don't need to. The mutas do chase away the Hellions, and they are going to be going straight for the Terran's base. OneHand... Actually no, Brockemon could run the Hellions back into the base since there isn't really all that much defense. OneHand actually doing a slight miss micro, moving the mutas rather than attack moving, so they did take a couple extra hits from the Marines, but that isn't going to really do all that much damage. The Thors do come out, so the mutas are going to get repelled quite a bit, but OneHand actually does have enough mutas to kill off that Thor, but he is going to take quite a bit of damage from the Marines while he's at it. Again, since mech is actually pretty slow, OneHand could try to attack in between the natural as well as the main, try to keep Brockemon on his toes, maybe try to force a couple errors out of Brockemon, and basically attack him when he does decide to, well, when he does actually slip up. Now, third base is getting saturated at the moment, and he is probably looking to get a fourth. Either that, or actually is looking to get a fourth. So the Zerg looking to expand his advantage even further, stacking up a lot of lava at his two in-base hatcheries. I'd really like to see OneHand try to use those mutas a bit more effectively. Brockemon is using the Hellions for some map dominance. He is using for a scouting. That's actually a really good use for it, because at the moment the Hellions are more or less not really going to be that useful inside the army, since there are quite a few mutas on the field. There are a lot of bailings, so they are going to get taken out really quickly. Now, OneHand does spot more Raxes getting added up, so he knows that it's going to be mainly Bioball rather than mech this time. Now, Thor is getting sniped out. The mutas do take a couple hits from the missile turret as well as the Thor, since they weren't really magic boxed. Again, with this number of mutas, it's not really crucial to magic box. It's not really going to determine whether you win or lose a fight against that many mutas and one Thor, but if you want to keep the mutas alive so your harassment is a lot more effective, especially since there's a lot of Marines on the field, you do want to try to magic box when you can. But again, it is pretty APM, what's that word? APM heavy, so you don't really want to drag too much attention away, since it is going to make your macro slip quite a bit, and as everyone knows, macro is slightly more important than micro, since you'd rather want to lose a couple of units than not have the reinforcing units that you could have, if that makes any sense. Now we do see two Thors come out for Brockemon, so he is going to be able to defend against these muta attacks pretty easily. We do have level 1 Carapace upgrade coming out for the Zerg, level 1 attack upgrades for the Zerg as well as level 1 melee attacks. So Zerg is going pretty heavily on the upgrades at the moment. That is going to help complement this large number of Bailings, this large number of Zerglings, and this handful of mutas. So at the moment we just see each player trying to get their tech back up. This expansion is going to probably get denied by the Zergling. If not, it is going to spot it still. So Brockemon looking to get his third up. OneHand's fourth does finish, and he does finally spot that Zergling, and he is sending his SCVs over as well as a couple units to help take out that Zergling. So at the moment, OneHand could possibly try to decide to move his mutas out, trying to delay this expansion as much as possible, and he does decide to move out most of his army. He does bring the mutas down to the fourth, choosing to leave his Zerglings and Bailings behind, but he probably should bring them in, since most of his army is out of position right now. He can take out both these Thors, these Marauders and Marines. Now he's going to run in, he's going to meet the Thors, get driven away, and then bring in the rest of his army. Either that, or he can choose to attack the main, since he does know that most of his units are trying to defend his newly founded base. But he is just going to hang around at the gold. At this point in time, Zerg could probably choose to go for a gold as well, just to get slightly ahead. Even if it does get taken out, it will still pay off itself. Now, Zerg is moving in. This Thor is going to fall down pretty quickly, and basically OneHand is going to have free reign over the Terran's base. He does have a lot of Bailings that's going to help basically clear off any bio units. That is going to help deal with the Thors pretty quickly. He really should use these Bailings on the Thors, or else most of these Zerglings will fall right now. The mutas do come in and clear that up, and basically his natural is going to fall. These Thors do come in from behind, but they do get taken out by the massive Zerglings. Bailing's still alive, so they can still actually take out this group of Marines that are still left. Muta's basically running for their lives. The Zerglings are going to get us around him, and this Thor is actually still alive. He really should use the Bailings to clear that up so we can get inside Brockemon's main. Now, OneHand is going to slowly work away at Brockemon's wall, and this basically looks like the end for the Terran, and Brockemon does GG out of game 4. So the score is finally evened up at 2-all once again. So we will be seeing an ace match out of these two players. At the moment, it's been a pretty sickly series. Each player alternating, taking each match, and each game has actually been relatively close, maybe except for the exception of game 3. but again that was probably just slight bad luck on the Zerg's parts. Actually, if you kind of include a game 2 as well, but both players do make mistakes here and there, which may or may not cost them the game, but that's what happens when you play StarCraft. Things can change at drop of a hat. So we will be seeing Game 5. I am getting pretty hoarse, but the show must go on, especially when it's been this awesome thus far. So this has been Crucius for UCID, New South Wales StarSoc, as well as IntoStarCraft, and I'll be right back with Game 5.